Is consulting a good career option for young people? Short answer is yes, I think it's fantastic, but it comes with a lot of stipulations. Hey, I'm Paul Millard. I'm the founder of Strategy U, and I run a course that teaches people the consulting skills so you don't have to work in the industry. But in this video, I'm also going to dive into why I still think it's a good idea for some people to work in the industry and why I loved my experience working for the consulting firms. The first thing that you need to consider in terms of wanting to work for the firms is if you actually want to do the work. Now, the kind of work that consulting firms do is very analytical. It is very deep thinking. It is very research focused. If you don't like spending 10 to 20 to 30 hours a week in Excel sheets, doing Google searches, doing interviews, synthesizing notes, rewriting notes, redoing PowerPoint slides, and spending a lot of time in PowerPoint, then consulting is not for you. That is never going to change. It's never going to be a good fit if you hate doing those things. You need to at least like them a little bit. The second thing, do you need to be that analytical type of person? No. You need to be willing to do a lot of analytical work, but there are all types in consulting. There are people that are very good at relationship building and they find their ways to contribute, get involved more in the interviews, the in-person client relationship building, or even some of the internal firm building stuff. There are big picture thinkers, and these are the people that really help on the team when the team has 100 different types of analyses they're doing that can say, hey, let's look at the connection of this, this, and this. This might fit together like this. We might be able to reformulate our structure of how we're thinking about this problem like this. That was probably more my style. I was very good at the analytics, but what I really loved was that big picture thinking where you had to pull together different ideas and try to fit the different pieces together in a cohesive and compelling story. The third thing to consider is the type of people you'll be working with. This industry is filled with driven and motivated people. And one of the traps of this industry is that it's filled with driven and motivated people. Everyone is always thinking about the next career option. If you spend any time on the message boards looking about breaking into industries like consulting or investment banking, everyone talks about exit options. This is a little crazy when you think about it, right? Why would you go work in an industry if you just intended to leave the industry? But this is exactly the mindset of all the people you'll be working with. So it becomes easy to start to think about your own next steps. When I was at McKinsey, coming on almost 2 years, I was getting very restless. And this feeling motivated me to apply to business school. I felt like I needed to keep going. Looking back, I kind of wish I had stayed a couple more years. I think I was a little young. I hadn't really gotten a lot of responsibility yet. And because I think McKinsey is such a good firm for cultivating talent and learning, I think I would have learned a ton. The fourth thing to think about is that working at a firm like this is a lot of hours. It doesn't really matter if you only want to work 35 to 40 hours a week. It's going to be hard to do. I was able to eke out some balance while I was working at these firms, but oftentimes you're at the mercy of your clients. If you're on a demanding client project and that client is not happy with where the project is, you are going to be working a lot of hours. Or if you're working with a project leader or a partner who is not very good at delegating and managing time and kind of blocking for you and saying to the client, we can't do that. I need to protect my team. I don't want them to work crazy hours. Then you're just going to end up working long hours. And what happens for people that work in the industry over time is you start prioritizing your work over your personal life, which can feel really icky. A lot of people are okay with this for 2 to 5 years, but eventually a lot of people burn out and they decide they have to leave the industry. Fifth thing to think about is training and development. I think this is probably the best reason to work in the industry, is that the learning and pace of work is so fast in these firms. You're turning over your material and work multiple times during a day. If you work at big companies, you'll find, okay, you work on this one presentation by yourself for a couple weeks and then you kind of have to wait around for feedback. You get this feedback that says, now do this, and the feedback's not all that helpful, and you end up getting 2 pieces of feedback on something you work on over a month or a month and a half. In consulting, you get like 50 to 100 pieces of information in a month-long project. It's overwhelming, but the pace of learning and the growth you experience when you're on the other side of this feedback is unmatched. This is probably one of the best reasons to work in the industry. And I think why it's such an amazing opportunity for people early in their career. These are some of the things to think about. I gave you 5 things to think about before joining the industry. I hope this is helpful. If you want to learn more about the industry or some of the thinking methods or problem solving frameworks, you can check out some of the other videos, subscribe if you like them, and you can also check out my free lessons on strategyu.co, and I have a course where I teach people the skills of consulting so you don't have to work in consulting.